And welcome to the EE Preview Show, where we are going to bring you some of the top races this weekend for stakes and some of the best betting opportunities. We call them free squares, the horses we believe have a significant advantage in their respective races. So each week, our expert team collaborates to formulate a consensus on at least 10 key horses. I don't know that we have 10 key horses, Oldy, because you did most of the handicapping, but we're going to go through it. I handicapped some of this stuff, but you seem to like some horses this weekend.
Absolutely, and hopefully it's as good as last weekend, because I believe I went 5, even though I wasn't on the show. My picks that I put into the spreadsheet went 5 of 9 of the 9 races I handicapped. So my top pick won 5 of them. So let's shoot for that again. I think that's a pretty good percentage.
It is. I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Okay, I'm assuming we're starting with Keeneland race number 8?
Correct, yes.
Okay. All right, let's run this race. I'm going to expand it since there's so many horses in this race. So here we go. All right. I did look at this race, and I noticed that White Sands, the 4-horse, and Long Neck Paula have been working together for Wesley Ward. They're 2 speed horses. I mean, look at this first call. There seems to be a lot of speed. And the 12-horse Long Neck Paula, Wesley Ward's horse, that horse is 8-5 on the EE morning line. Do you think that this horse is all that in this race?
I have that horse in the 3rd spot for me, but I know Justin really liked that horse. He has that horse on top. My concern here, I'm a little concerned about the overall pace in this race.
Yeah,
this could be something that could melt. But I kind of like the 3 Echo Sound. It was only 8% on the win line, but it's 2 of 2 at the distance. It has a 5-1 on the morning line, 4-1 on the E morning line. Is the E second pick, and is undefeated and has some really nice works for George/Rusty Arnold.
So the 12-horse 5, Justin likes that horse a bit. For me, I did really like a horse. I think this horse is a free square. The horse can rate. I think the horse is going to sit back and this horse has some tremendous talent. Trust Fund Filly for me, Oldie. I think Peter Urton's got a really nice horse here. I don't love horses after they break their maiden beating winners, but I didn't feel like this was a very strong group. And this horse can rate, draws a good post. The 12 will be in front of the 10, but I don't think the 10 is going to be too far off. I think Trust Fund Filly wins this race.
I just think so. One of my issues here with both the 12 and the 10 is the post. And, going one turn from that wide of a post, you're going to need a perfect trip and a perfect setup. And, I just don't know if that's going to happen here. I know there's a lot of speed, so maybe it does.
That's why I like the 10. I don't like wide posts. But that being said, when you look at the first call here, look, it's a wall of them fighting for the lead. This horse is going to cut back in, probably be 3 or 4 lengths behind, not going to go wide, going to be on the inside, save some ground, and then make a run. That's why I like the 10. I mean, you don't see this very often. There's a wall of them, and they're all going to be fighting for the lead.
Yeah. Well, I did notice the 3 Echo Sound can rate a little bit. And, that was one of the reasons it made it my top pick. But I also think the 8 Andrea for Safi might be the speed of the speed. And I just wonder if this horse just keeps going here.
Well, I mean, she's done nothing wrong so far, has she? Yeah. But she was, running at Gulfstream Park. During this time of year, the horses aren't all that, and it starts getting tough now. The championship meet has started, and you start getting the competition rolling in over at Gulfstream Park. By the way, I heard rumor that they've just got a ton of horses. In fact, they have so many people are requesting stalls that we're going to see some really big and competitive fields this year over at Gulfstream Park. So looking forward to the championship meet. I have a horse, as you know, that called Sarkis that we got at the OBS sale. He'll be running hopefully sometime in November next month. So look for him. Yeah, looking forward to that. But I think, this is some really tough competition here. And I'm not sure that this horse really faced all that much, but I mean, you can't argue with the results of winning by 6.5 and 7 3/4 lengths, respectively.
Absolutely. So I'm 3, 8, 12 here.
Okay.
You are 10, 12.
No, I just like the 10. Justin likes the 12, and then there's some of the other ones. There's Justin. What up,
Yeah,
Justin? So Justin
Justin.
also did a lot of work in preparing here. So we'll talk about Justin's horse as well. Justin's got picks in here, and half the races we're going to cover. And you've done almost every race. So we'll see how many we can get through. I want to give a big shout out. What's up, Gary? Joe in the house. What up, Dan? Hi to you guys and everybody else. Hopefully you can chime in the chat. We love it when you do. Big weekend of racing. We've got Indy has got big races on Saturday. Belmont on Saturday and Sunday. Belmont at Aqueduct. Don't forget tomorrow, David Harrison and we've got the road to the NHC as well at 11:30 Eastern time. So hopefully you can tune into that. And all right, Oldy, let's go to the next race, which is race number 9. That's a grade 2 race we're going to cover here. I'll run the race. I did not yet look at this race, so I'm counting on you and Justin here.
And Justin and I, we had at least one similar thought, but people who know me probably know where I'm going with this race here. And I am on the 2 pool side with Slim, who is the top pace there, also 17% to win. And I just think that this horse is going to get an easy lead here. And, has beaten 74s at a mile. So should be able to handle this. Hasn't been on the lead the last couple times out, is working really well. Somehow
nice.
I'm going for the Rusty Arnold, the George Arnold double here. But, I thought this horse could steal this race on the front end. I am again against Buttercream Babe, who I was against at Kentucky Downs. And I stick with the same comment, the 8 horse here, who's the second pick, that he pretty much runs the same race every time out and does the same thing and doesn't win.
Yeah.
So, that's an easy toss for me. And the 11 Nicest Pie looks like a synthetic horse to me, the top pick. So I tossed.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that. So let's take a look at the turf. I mean, the horse 5 tries, 247,000. The horse really has done well in the synthetic. Man, if I had a horse that did that well on synthetic, I don't think I would ever put it on turf. I would agree with you. And you can't love that post as well. From the starting position at 8 furlongs over at Keeneland, you can't really love that post.
Right.
Plus, the horse is going to get some pressure from a decent horse. That's simply in front. I can see that. You can see at the first call, the 12 is most likely going to be in front of the 11 horse, putting some pressure. And the 10 is equally as fast. They don't really have any speed around that first turn, and they're going to be wide. So, I mean, I think somebody's going to win from the inside, I would imagine. It could be a horse like even a long shot here, like Memorialize.
Yeah, so for me, it was the 2. Then I'm on the 12, who has an E morning line angle, 8-1 on the regular morning line and 2-1 on the E morning line. So also getting a big jump in GSR there, going back to a mile after running at 6.5 at Kentucky Downs.
Yeah.
And really doesn't have sprinter speed. So, that has a little tactical speed at a mile though. And then as well, the 9 Dancing Dixie is my long shot here for Mark Casse, shortening back up to 8 furlongs, won the last time out. It went the last time it ran at 8 furlongs, the tap-in at Churchill Downs. And, I think that this horse was just going too long and didn't want that distance, and is now an 82 on the GSR. So it's getting a big GSR bump there as well. So I think this horse could be very dangerous as a long shot here.
I find it very interesting that the EquinEdge long shot is 2-1 as well on the EE morning line. This horse is going to run. They can't love that post draw. They can't.
Right.
What's up, Matt? Matt Miller in the house. Nice job today, Matt, too. No way they can like this post position, but you're looking at a horse it's going up 10 points in GSR, a 91 on the GSR. I mean, this horse at 2-1 on the EE morning line, 15%, but that 12 hole is brutal.
Yeah. So let me give you one more horse here if it draws in, and that's the 14 Whiskey Decision.
Okay, so what is it about the 14 you like?
This horse is pretty classy, is run well, is shortening shortening back date furlongs here. If this horse draws in, I think that this horse has a look here and could run really well. I will say if the 16 draws in, then the 2 would no longer be my top pick because the 16 is a speedball for Wesley Ward.
Yeah. Yeah, this race is super tough. Again, I didn't pre-handicap this race. I'm looking at it with you as we're going along, and I would tend to agree with you that the 2 can carry them a long way. Speed on the turf at Keeneland really holds, and so I don't really have a strong opinion myself, but it is interesting if the horse can find a way to win it. But you might even get some odds on the 12 horse Simply in front. You just don't see that very often. I mean, it's the EquinEdge long shot. Look, and you can see too when the top win percentage in the race is 17%, you know that the race is wide open. And I'm going to look a lot closer at the 12. That's really what I'm going to be looking at. Like if I had to give a play right now, and I don't like outside horses, especially in this context here, I would probably choose the 12 horse. I agree with you on the 11. The 11 wins this race, it's going to blow up the tote. But there's some like true turf horses in here, and you're right. I think the 11 horse is, send that horse to Gulfstream Park. Well, there's not big races, unfortunately, on the synthetic over Gulfstream. That's probably the problem. There's probably not a lot of options for them with this horse. Probably a very talented horse, but this horse, we're going to see this horse over at Turfway Park. That's for sure. All right, let's get where are we going next?
We are going to Aqueduct race 7.
Aqueduct race number 7
on Saturday.
On Saturday, okay.
Sorry.
All right, Aqueduct race number 7, a grade 3 race. I put a note on this. This looks like a jockey's race to me. Who's going to get the trip here? Thanks, Justin. Thanks for your hard work. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Justin. You have a great practice. So, this race to me, I'm not a huge fan of Scotland, the top pick here, just because I feel like this horse has burnt a lot of money. So I went here and I was 2-4-3 here. So the 2 being my top pick. Top Gunner, who is the morning line favorite as well. For Brad Cox, it's second time Cox. The horse did win first time out for Cox at Parks, is shipping in here, has some tactical speed, and is the Scotty's second pick. And then Scotty, I like the 4 with the 8-1 on the morning line and the 5-2 on the E morning line. And this horse is at 5.5, won a grade 3. And, this is a grade 3 as well, similar SOR. That one was a little easier, but there's no reason why this horse at 6 furlongs, who, is also the long shot, can't be, right there. And I don't think this horse is going to be 5-2. I think it's going to be closer to that 8-1 track morning line. So I think you could potentially find value there, either using this horse with the 2 or on top.
Yeah. This horse was claimed off of Mike Maker by Wayne Potts 3 back, and then immediately paid dividends, winning a grade 3 race easily. Now there was only 4 other horses in that race, And so, the horse did win that race, but then went on the turf. I'm not going to hold that race against that horse because it was only 7% to win. So it only lost by 4 and 3/8 lengths. So it was finishing. She likes to win. I mean, he likes to win. 10 wins in 37 races. Look, has been in the money in 23 races. I mean, of 37. So clearly the horse likes to win. And 7-year-old Gelding still has a lot left in him. So I would think the 4 would run a good race. As far as the 2 horse goes, what a great claim by Brad Cox for 62.5, 2 back. And the horse came back immediately and won a $100,000 race at Parks. And is facing similar than it did last time out. It had a perfect trip, though. It'd be interesting to see what they do with this horse. The horse can clearly rate. It has enough speed to be close. I would agree with you. I don't think you're going to get a price in here. And especially in a competitive field that's on paper, I hate taking a low price. But I really do think the 2 horse is going to find a way to win this race. And if it's not the 2, it's going to be the 4. I agree with you. I did look at this race. I thought the 7 was going to end up being wide. And I didn't like how it burned so much money. It did win this race here. It had a perfect trip from the 9 hole. I saw that race. But this race is shorter. There's some good speed in here. And I think the 7 is going to get carried wide. So I'm going to try to beat it. But if there's a jockey that can get a good trip, it's going to be Irad Ortiz. So I'm not prepared to say that the 7 can't win. I think the EquinEdge picks have got it. I think it's going to be the 2, 4, 7. You did mention the 3. So before we move on to the next race, what was it about the 3 horse that you liked?
I thought amongst the closers here, if you have something like what happened in the last race at Aqueduct today happened there, I thought the 3's beaten 70s before in the past. It could run back to the form that run happy on May 11th form could be good enough here as well to at least be in the money. So I just think second off the layoff and gets Dylan Davis. And Dylan Davis also finds a way to have horses like this outrun their odds or win. So I'm not saying I think this horse is necessarily going to win, but I definitely would use this horse underneath. And I think it has a shot of winning, where I think running Son of a Gun, the 6 does not.
You know what I thought was interesting? When I see a morning line, that's only one metric, so I don't let that influence me completely. But when I see a morning line on a horse like this that on paper lost by 30 lengths last time out, 8.5 lengths, 8 3/4 lengths before that, I'm like, okay, and now this horse is 12 to 1 on the morning line. I'm like, why? And we don't know. That's the thing. We don't know what these algorithms are looking at. Our job is to try to interpret the entire race. One, how the trip is going to be, maybe who's the pace of the race. That's what EquinEdge does, right? That's what it's supposed to do, as you know, is give you the different metrics. You've got a win percentage algorithm. The win percentage algorithm, I use the least of them all. The pace is so important. Pace, you've heard the saying, right? Pace makes the race. It's so true. Class, the SOR, and then of course the breeding metric. Like, how many times do we see a horse that's such a big favorite, but it's dropping 20 points in GSR from the last race to the current race? Like, we play against those horses all the time, right?
Right, absolutely.
So I think the 2 horse Top Gunner is what I like about it is it can rate. It's going to stay around right behind all the speed in the front and then finishing. That's what it looks like to me. All right, where are we going next?
We are going to race 8 at
Race 8?
Belmont.
Okay, race
Aqueduct.
8 at Aqueduct. All right, let's run this thing. The four to me is Jefferson Street is training amazing. Again, you have a race where the top win percentage is on the outside post, is 27%, is not the fastest horse in the race, could get carried wide. And then you have a horse like the 4 that's tactical that could run a really good race. I thought that, and the 4's training like a beast right now. So what did you think of the 4 Jefferson Street?
I had the 4 in my 3rd slot here, but I think, didn't really run against grade 1 company, probably just too good for this horse. My concern is this horse just might be an allowance horse. That it's only beaten maiden and conditioned allowance company. For me, the class of this race is the 2 Messier, who's the Scotty second pick. And, for won a grade 3 last time out for Dutch Row, can rate a little bit. Really has won 2 in a row, but was DQ'd the previous time out at 9 furlongs. I think 8 is a better distance for this horse. This is an old Baffert horse that was the favorite in the Santa Anita Derby. Was on the shelf for a long time and then didn't run well for Baffert coming back. But Dutch Row has seemed to have found the magic for this horse. Let's use that term.
Yeah.
So I was the 2 here. I thought the 7, I think you're right, is going to be carried a little wide, and I think it's a little slow, from coming in from parks, not as fast or as difficult of groups typically. And, so I had this horse with Boca Chica aboard underneath, and as well with Jefferson Street here.
One of the plays, this horse has won 13 of 24 races. So, I mean, he's been fantastic. That being said, in the last couple of wins and losses, you can't play against a horse like this because he clearly likes to win. But the last couple of wins have been by a half of a length. Those are a little bit scary. And if you look at them, this was against 7 other horses, but this horse only beat 5 other horses. It's also not the best breaker in the world. But like it definitely, he's a winner. I mean, there's no question. He finds ways to win. He's not my favorite though. I'm definitely gonna take a risk on I'm gonna try the 4, yeah. But I don't love the 4. I just thought the 4 was very interesting. I really liked that last race over at Churchill Downs. The horse was 31% to win. Ran a nice second place finish from the rail. I thought it was a good effort. And the race before that, it was a grade 1. Throw that out. The race before that was second. Only 4 other horses, though, to be fair. But in the Amsterdam, that was a grade 2 race. So, and the horse is lightly raced too, Oldy. So that was kind of my consideration too. And when you have a horse that's been in the money in 7 of 8 races, the only poor effort was in the grade 1, Alan Jerkins. And that was from the 10 hole. And the horse was only 6% to win. So every time it's been a good win percentage, it's run good.
What about the 8 Film Star, the Scotty Longshot, did face the 7, I believe it was 7.
Yes.
And the 7 got the better of that horse. But the Linda Rice horse there did get bad. It is getting IRAD, so maybe it gets a better trip. But I thought that this horse was just a little bit of a cut below and has burnt a bunch of money. So,
yeah,
for me,
I agree.
Maybe you use it underneath.
I agree with you. I don't, there's something about this horse that the win percentage algorithm likes. Look at 40% here and lost by 11 3/4 lengths. No, thank you. Like there's just always something. And here's what it says. Look, this is what I believe is going on with this horse. And I'm absolutely going to try to beat this horse. 1, I don't like the post. 2, look at the race. First of all, the race that it won was only against 3 other horses, and it was on that lead. It had a perfect trip. There was only 3 other horses. It was the outside. This horse had a perfect trip against 3 other horses, and it needs to be on the lead. And if you go to the first call here, there is 5 other horses that are faster than him, and he's drawn outside. Absolutely not using Film Star.
And when it doesn't get the lead, one of the things I hate, and if you look on 10-1-23, one of the things I hate is horses that get to the lead in the stretch and then get caught, because that happens over and over again. Yeah. And I've mentioned that to you and David a couple times when we've had disagreements over horses as to why I was tossing those horses. So for me, Film Star, even though it's a horse to watch and a Scotty Longshot, is a toss for me.
I agree. I think you'll see that horse at the top of the stretch, and I think it's gonna fade. I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, so we've got race number 10, I'm assuming, right?
Race 10 coming up, yes. And in race 10, I have a confidence pick there, a best bet, if you will.
Okay.
For Aqueduct, and that is the 3 horse, Tarifa.
Well, look at Pratt off of 2 Chad Brown horses to stay on Tarifa, so that has to say something.
Yeah, and as well, I mean, I think this is probably a 2-horse race between Tarifa and Gunsong, but I think there's enough other pace on Gunsong, and Gunsong has had a habit of breaking slow, which is not ideal when you need the lead. And I think that the 7-horse headline numbers for Chad is going to go with Gunsong. That's the way I'm envisioning this race. And I think Tarifa hasn't been at her best lately, but has been facing much better than this and gets class relief. There's no other horse that's been running in these kind of grade ones.
Yeah. Gunsong is going to be very tough as well. That I think the EquinEdge picks have it. Tarifa is definitely probably on paper, I would say the horse to beat for sure, though. But Gunsong is tough. It had a few. This was a poor race to me. This was a grade 3, a pretty easy group of horses, and I was disappointed. I had bet Gunsong better in this race here, and then went gate to wire here. Clearly, she needs to be near the lead. And this is the reason why I'm choosing the 3-horse Tarifa, who doesn't have to have the lead. And when you look at this, I mean, Gunsong's probably going to have the lead. Actually, the more I'm looking at this, I thought it was going to be more competitive on the front end. But when you look at the first call, Gunsong probably has the lead. And then look at Tarifa, though. Tarifa's 46% to win and 3-2 on the EE morning line. And so she's going to have to be near the pace. She can't let Gunsong get too far ahead. That's probably going to be the instructions. And sometimes when that happens, you get used up a little bit. So based on what I'm seeing here, and again, I'm just looking at this for the first time, based on that, probably would only use those 2 horses.
Yeah, and underneath, I did have the 7 headline numbers, who I think is a talented horse and is going to be forwardly placed. Irad is riding there for Chad Brown, and I prefer her to Pretty Anna, who's 1 for 7 lifetime.
I mean, how much can he love this horse? I mean, Chad Brown breaks its maiden. Think about this, by 11 3/4 lengths, and ends up in an optional claiming $50,000 allowance. Does that even look like a Chad Brown move to you? Like, to me, it doesn't. And I can't make sense of that. Like, and all of a sudden now he comes in this race and the horse is 11% to win, absolutely playing against this horse. I think the other horse, for me, the 3rd horse, is the 6-horse Lifetalk. This horse really has some nice form. Ran a really nice race against a pretty decent group. I don't think it's good enough to beat the 3 or 5, but I think with Rapoli stable, Pletcher, I think this horse might run a good race and end up getting the money here. But so for me, it's going to be 3-5, 3-5, 6.
All right, 3-5, 3-5, 6. Okay. And I am 3-5, 7.
Okay.
All right, let's move now to Horseshoe race 3.
All right, here we go. Horseshoe Indianapolis race number 3. Wow, they've got a lot of stakes races, huh? That's going to be a big day for them on Saturday.
Yeah, some of those are towards the end of the card are quarter horse.
Okay.
So it looks like you've looked at this already, because I can see you've eliminated horses already.
I must have. I'll put these back and then I'll run the race. Let's go.
And as
so
well
Molly's
here,
Town. Is this just about Molly's Town or?
I have Molly's Town as my top pick at Horseshoe for the day.
Okay. Yeah, good call, Chris. You're right. Chris in the background there, producing the show tonight, and he's right. Like, really, we've got a big shout out. There's been so many tracks that have opened this up to show you simulcast, which has just been really big. And so yeah, we'll be showing these races on Saturday. You don't want to miss the stretch run. It's going to be a really, really nice show. And Oldy, Chris, can you actually come on for a second before we cover this race, Oldy? Let's have Chris come on. Chris, can you talk about what we're doing for Breeders' Cup coverage?
Yes. So Breeders' Cup coverage, we will have once the draw is complete, and we have the pre-entries up now, right?
Pre-entries, I'm not sure if they're up yet. They might be.
They're up, Scotty.
Are they up? Okay.
I have one race left to pull my contenders out of.
Okay.
And do the European horse research, so I don't have to go and do every single European horse.
That's fantastic. I'm really glad to hear that. Wow, I was sweating bullets on that one. Okay, good.
So we'll have we'll probably have a Wednesday show, Scotty, we talked about last night, and a Thursday show. We'll talk about the Friday and Saturday races. Friday will be live on the air doing the Breeders' Cup, the last 5 races at Del Mar, and then we'll be live all day long on Saturday. doing all the Breeders' Cup races and following the BCBC and all of our friends and compadres that are in that tournament and seeing how everybody does. But shout out to Jim Goodman at Keeneland. We appreciate the partnership we have with them. We hope to get back there for the spring meet, but more to come. I know we have the Breeders' Cup packages coming out as well that'll be available for purchase. If you're a monthly or an annual, you get that included.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, you definitely would you sign up for a monthly unlimited or a yearly before Breeders' Cup, because there's going to be surge pricing on Breeders' Cup. So hopefully you'll join us permanently and give it a shot. So also, and then we'll get back to it, Oldy and Chris, but we are talking about maybe for the fall meet, or for the spring meet, excuse me, over at Keeneland, we're talking about maybe being there all 3 weeks.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Happy to go up there and do that. It would be a treat. They race Wednesday through Sunday. It's great racing every day. We've seen that time and time again. Quality racing at Keeneland, and the handle is good. You can get good prices, and there are a lot of things. I mean, Scotty, there was a favorite double yesterday that paid 10.76 to 1. I mean, just extremely juicy early on in the card. Simple. The things you have to go and look at. And Aqueduct today had some nice EE spots as well. I know a lot of our folks that were in the final table for the Horse Players Happy Hour, EE users, big proponents of the platform and spotting those things.
Who was I know Mike Saletta was in that. How did he do today?
Mike and Nate Kaczynski were at the top about a third of the way through, and then a couple of long shots hit. Matt Miller did a good piece. I'll clip that and tweet that out tomorrow.
Oh, Matt was in that as well, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Matt was in that as well. He did a nice 60-second piece on how he uses EquinEdge, and
I tried to watch that, but their video and their sound wasn't working. It was rough.
There was a YouTube problem today, so the sound is there. I can go and clip that spot and put it out there tomorrow. But
you should put that on our Twitter too. Actually,
Yes, we'll put all those. Mike and Nate, and there were a couple other guys too that used the product.
Nice.
I know PTF was surprised at how many people were using it in the contest, but
yeah,
they got one winner, and it's a good thing to support. All the proceeds go to Aftercare, and who knows, you could win a $10,000 seat to the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge.
All right, let's get back to this Kim Hammond overnight handicap. Oldie, you can see the race simulator. I know you already handicapped this race. Why don't you start us off?
Yeah. So I thought this race was all about the 5 here. That's my best bet for the day at Horseshoe. I just think that it's a horse to watch. All you have the top win, top Scotty pick, top pace. It's right there in SOR, and it's also top GSR. So, and the horse is 2 for 3 at the distance, and just looks classier in terms of the races it's won than anybody else in this race. And I thought the top 2 E picks have it. I think that it's 5-4, and then the 1 was a horse that I thought you could get underneath. But there's a horse here called Scotty's on Edge, and from a sentimental factor.
Wow, look at that. You know what I was going to tell you? I forget, because I'm always on the simulator page. I forget to come here sometimes and sort this. Like, if you look, you can see 5.5 on the dirt. You can see the record and how strong the competition was for these races. I mean, I've always felt like this is a really good chart right here. You?
Yeah, no, I use this pretty much all the time. I'm always looking for horses that like a distance, because you can find a price sometimes that way too. Or you might see a favorite which has happened recently, where the favorite's like 0 for 17 at the distance
Right.
in
Exactly.
one of those lower level races, and you can just toss. Well, I would advise tossing that horse. I wouldn't say you just could toss it, but I would advise that, and that's another way to get around a favorite and find a way to make some more money, whether you're in a win bet, a double, or a multi-race sequence.
Well, one of the things you can do, like you look at Molly's Town and you see, okay, in 3 races has won 2 times against a 68 SOR group, which is our class number. So that, like, I'm not going to say it doesn't tower, but you can see the 7 horse might run a better race. 3 wins, 1 second, 1 third in 6 tries against a 65 average SOR group. But one of the things you can do is I would look at Molly's Town and, okay, what happened in the one race where it actually lost going 5.5 on the dirt? So then we click on the past performances. We see a win here. We see a win here. Right here, the horse got 5th. And it looks like this is what I'm thinking. From the inside post, 3rd of 10 other horses, it dueled. It broke good, but they were just flying is what I'm guessing. And then it stopped late. And so maybe we can throw that out because it looks like the horse can rate some.
Even though the SOR was the same or similar, it also was at Oak Lawn. And you look that this horse may be a horse for the course as well at Horseshoe, because it had the 4 races in a row at Horseshoe, went elsewhere, came back, won at Horseshoe, and then had some not as good efforts at a longer distance and came back to 5.5. I will point out on the 7, and this is why you have to go into the past performances, chip off the old block. This horse actually, even though it's 3 of 6 at the distance, hasn't won at the distance since 2022.
Good call. That's a good point. Yeah. And by the way, one more point on the 5 horse, because you mentioned it and I'm looking at it. Look at $300,000 earned in 12 lifetime races for Molly's Town. And of that 300,000, 280,000 of it has been an Indy.
Yep.
I mean,
Exactly.
Everything is pointing this way to the 5 horse. So I'm with you. I like the 5. And you like the 5 as well. How about Justin? Was it the 5 you liked as well?
Justin had the 4 and the 5.
Okay.
And that was it. And it looks like Justin and I agree in the next race on the top pick too. We both, as we move to horseshoe race 4. See, that's what happens when you try to combine the word race and horseshoe.
Well, you got 100. This is the Indiana Stallion Stakes. This is for 2-year-olds, so they're state breds. For all day long, Indiana breds, and let's run the race here. They are going. They're going 6 furlongs. Okay, let's see. So 11 from the outside and the 10 horse. They look the fastest. I would imagine that would hurt both of them, as they could be dueling from the outside, and they're definitely going to have to ask just a little bit more, being on the outside, which could set it up for a long shot on the inside, because these 2 horses are going to get bet.
Yeah, and both Justin and I like the second pick, Spooky Ridge, here. So Spooky Ridge, last time out, maiden showed this horse could rate. It looks really well on the race sim, and we both thought that there's a good shot that this horse could beat the 8 horse, who's the top pick, who's low percentage trainer, low percentage jockey as well. In fact, and then Justin and I disagreed on which speed horse. He liked the 11, the long shot, and I liked the 10, the top win there as well. So I was 7, 8, 10, I believe, and Justin was 7, 11, 10. I just think that the 10's a little classier than the 11, that they both won first time out and then ran in a stakes or ran in a race that was too difficult for them. I'm wondering, though, if the 10 did not like the slop.
Right.
And coming back to what hopefully will be dry dirt, and potentially being to the inside of the 11 if it can win the break. That this horse, I think, is the one that could hold on for a piece with the 7 and 8.
Well, it looks from what I can see, and they're both lightly raced, but from what I can see, for sure the 11 horse seems to need the lead. I probably think that I would guess that the 10 does as well. That means those two are dueling from the outside. There's a high likelihood they're going to stop. And if we eliminate them, let's just assume that maybe that's going to happen, even though they're both horses to watch. Yeah. And then it's you have a wall of them. Now the 8 horse seems to be going to be sitting in the garden spot if it's good enough. But again, you're dealing with low win percentage connections. You're dealing with horses trying to win, beat winners for the first time after breaking their maidens, which just does not happen very often. So you want to take some experienced horses, but the 7 horse did the same. Right, just broke its maiden, but it has a couple of races under its belt, which I like. Yeah. What about the 9? Did you consider the 9 the maiden? Did you consider this?
I didn't like the maiden at all. I typically don't like maidens in these situations. I'll let them beat me because it does not seem to happen that often. And this horse broke slow. Maybe it breaks better. There is a gate work here, multiple gate works actually, but that when you see that many gate works as well, it makes you think maybe they knew this horse had a braking problem.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I think even though this horse is a maiden, these horses have not run that much. I think it's a contender. I just, I wonder who's going to get the best trip, but I think this is a wide open race. For me, again, I don't like those outside posts unless it's lone speed. I would definitely throw those horses out. I think you have to beat the. I'm gonna guess you have to beat this 8 horse. It actually looks like a decent horse, ran a good race. I would probably go in that direction, and I kind of like this 9. So for me, I would probably do an exacta box like 7, 8, 9, something like that.
Okay.
Something like that. I would just box it. I'm not leaning towards any of them really. So just 7, 8, 9 box.
7, 8, 9 box for Scotty.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right. So
anything else on this race we need to know about?
Not that I can think of. No, I think we're hopefully ready to move on.
All right. So we've got the $100,000 Crown Ambassador Stakes. Again, this is for 2-year-olds, and these are state breds, Indiana breds. And let's run hold on. This is 6 furlongs as well. So let's run this. Here we go. I'm going to get rid of the 2. 1%, 25 to 1. It's well back early. So can the 12 horse clear?
It could, but I think even if it does, it probably stops just from having to clear from the 12 hole.
Right.
But, I kind of like, so I like the 5 horse here. Mondavilla. Hopefully I'm saying that right.
Not Mondavilla. Yeah, because it doesn't have 2 L's. So Mondavilla.
All right. So I like the 5 horse here. I think it sits a trip right behind the speed and pounces. From a 68 SOR going down to 58 here. And I think that the system has this right in terms of that. And you said you were getting rid of the 2 horse. I will tell you, I like the 2 horse. Monarch of Motion. Yes.
Why?
Again, another horse that's dropping here.
Okay.
And that was really
it's dropping, but it never picked up its feet in that race. So I mean, it has to drop. But what about when it faced a 60 group 2 back, and it was 3%, pretty much the same GSR, and it lost by 10 lengths. So it doesn't matter that it's dropping.
I just think that this horse may, and again, I took a closer here with my picks. And I like the 2 better than the 10. I don't like the outside post on the 10. And I preferred the drop to the horse that had burnt a bunch of money at 50 and 52s and finally
Yeah.
beat a group of 46s. So I just thought there's a lot of similarly paced horses here. And if something crazy happens, I think the 2's the one that needs the pace to run into. But if it gets it, that this horse could steal this race at a big price. Not my top pick, but definitely a horse that I think you have to account for if you're looking at this race as having the amount of pace that I think it has, where you have 4 horses within 8 pace points of each other. And if you look at first call in the race sim, it's kind of, the 2 gets a little bit of an advantage, but they're all going pretty fast. The 2 at second call, it's 2, 3, 8, 5, and 6, all within distance of each.
The 5 horse
Or-
has a major advantage in this race, and I'll tell you why. It broke its maiden easily first time out, so that's impressive. Then it goes up 18 points in SOR, Oldy, and it breaks 7, does not break good, but also shows it can rate and loses by 3.5 lengths in a non-graded stakes race. It comes back against similar horses, and it's going to be, it was only 12% that day. It's going to be, this horse can be way tighter, going to grow from that experience. I think if this horse just gets a good trip, I think this is the best horse by far in this race.
Yeah, I agree. I will tell you the 8, the Scotty second pick, who did finish better than the 5 last time, but doesn't pass anybody. And
That's exactly what I saw when I looked at the horse. And the other thing is that there's some speed inside of the horse and outside of the horse this time. And so this horse is not just going to get pace from the outside or the inside. It's going to have pace all around it. I don't think this horse is going to get a great trip. And even when it does have a good trip, it's not finishing. I don't see it. This 5, I'm going to single this 5.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that race in terms of the 8 the same way. The 5 was my preferred pick. Justin was 5-6 here. So we should talk about the 6 a little bit.
Okay.
Trusted Image, the long shot, who's a maiden who has finished second twice.
Let's see here if there's any trouble. Dueled from the inside both times and hung in there. Still a maiden. Needs to be forwardly placed. For me, I just don't see this horse getting the trip. I think this horse will be around. It's the EquinEdge long shot. It'll be around to the stretch, and I just don't see it hanging around. I think a lot of horses are going to start backing up. There's some speed in this race. It's not fast speed, but it's similar speed, and they're all going to have to go because the 12 horse is sending from the outside. And that's going to put pressure on a lot of the horses on the inside, which is a benefit for the 5, who's not wide, going to save ground, is tactical. Yeah, I really, really like this 5 horse.
All right, we agree for once.
We agree. Okay, let's go to race number 6, which is the Lady Foghorn Handicap. Wow, $200,000 for fillies 3 years old. Of course, these are Indiana breds. I'm going to get rid of a couple of these horses here that are 1%. They're not part of the speed. I'm going to leave the one that is part of the speed, possibly, and that's the 1. Okay, here we go.
All right. I feel like we need to announce it and be like, and they're off.
And they're off. All right, I'm just going to go to the face. So you can see that's the 1 never picks up its speed, so I'm going to get rid of the 1. Also, the 6 horse is 50-1 EE morning line. Like, it's 3% win too. It's I can listen, if you're not an algorithm, I can see why an odds maker would make this horse 6-1 because you look at it on paper and it's run decent, but it also was 27% to win. Here it was 14% and stopped, and here it was 25% and got second. Now it's 3%. So that's the advantage of using the algorithms, right? And then you have the race simulator on top of it. The people are always saying, well, what should I preference over the other? I'm like, nothing. You look at it all. You look at all the information. So win percentage 3, 50-1 EE morning line. GSR is fine. The SOR is a little bit low, right? Because you got 58 here, 60 here. This means that the horse in the last 5 races has been facing easier competition, which we're seeing that. Then you run the race simulator to the finish, and it's 4.5 lengths back. Instant throw out. That leaves us with these 4 horses. Okay, talk me through it.
All right. So Justin and I agree on the order of all three horses that were on here. So,
Okay.
and you're going to probably disagree with us, but
Okay.
we both are on the 3 on top. I think both horses need the lead. The 3 is classier, is stretching out, but the GSR is not changing that much here, and I think will get the distance. I'm not sure the 5 can rate, just based off those past races. Even though the 5 finished second, it looks like it didn't actually improve that position and backed up in terms of actual lengths behind the leader. So I think it's a battle between those two of who gets the lead. And I think the 3 is faster. And then, so we were both 3-5, and then we were in our third spot, but the 9 can rate. And if they go too fast here, the 9's going to just circle both of them and clean this up. The 9's actually undefeated if it wasn't for the DQ.
I'm looking at that right now. It
And
was
does get
55%
Pedrosa.
last time. Yep, gets Pedrosa. And this horse is, it was supposed to win easy last time out. It had the 11 hole the time before that in a tougher group than what's lined up today. The horse can clearly rate. There's nothing wrong with this post position with this tactical speed. 3 is going to get the lead. The 3, look, the 3 is going to get the lead. Look at this. I don't think I've ever seen this, but in the last, look at this. First position at the first call. First. It's insane. First. Here the horse broke 8th. And you can see it took a while for this horse to really get its speed going, but it's clearly very fast. And speed kills speed. Same connections. Yep, same connections. The 12 is, and then you also look at the SORs. You're right. I mean, the SORs are much bigger, which means that the horse has been facing much better horses. Yep. Here's the key, though. Here's the key. And maybe you know what I'm going to say, right? This horse has never gone 2 turns.
Yeah. I agree.
That doesn't mean it can't. It doesn't mean it can't, but it's never gone 2 turns. And it looks to be more bred to sprint than it does anything else. Whereas the 5 horse has a little bit of both. Wow, what a tough. This is. I think it's between these horses here. I don't like the 2 horse to win. Yeah. Personally, I'm guessing you don't as well.
No, Justin and I were both 3-5-9. So yeah. I think we're all in agreement here. Which, if you're not gonna, the only other option is the pace melts here, and you take somebody like, I don't even know who I would use here, the 6 or the 7. I mean that they're all a cut below. That's the problem. But you'd have to get lucky on one of these. I guess the 4 might be the one, but. You know what you don't know too.
You know what you don't know is that the 3 looks like the fastest horse in the race, but the 5 is very fast as well. What if Prescott decides I'm going to send as hard as I humanly possibly can? Because I know the 3 is fast, and if the 3 gets the lead, it will probably win. So I'm going to send. And if that happens, and the 3 and the 5 are dueling, guess who wins the race?
The 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see it the exact same way, Scotty. Absolutely.
So from that perspective, it's just anyone's guess. You just don't know. And the other thing is too, like this horse went 1 mile and 70 yards last time out, and it won easily last time out, right? And the GSR, look at the GSR is going up even from 59 to 64. So we know this horse can go. We know this horse has no problem doing this 2 turns. Not a great post position, though, from the starting point here, as you can see from the track diagram, right? That post is not exactly great for the 9. It's tactical, but it's not a great post.
Yeah, but it's definitely a little close to the turn, that's for sure. But I think the horse has enough tactical speed, and there's enough. I really think these are also the speed of this race as well, these 3, that this horse won't get caught too wide because it will be able to to grab position just outside those two horses.
Yeah, no doubt. I like this 9. I like this 9. These are all 3 of these horses are very creditable, but I mean, I can't imagine there's anybody else to look at besides these 3 horses. But that's not going to really help anybody, unfortunately. Like it in a race like this, it'd be great if you actually could make a case for one that you saw an angle. You know what I mean, Oldie? Like,
Yes, absolutely.
you know what I mean? Like to use all 3 horses, how have you separated yourself? To get away and use one horse in this in of these 3, now you've done something, you know? I mean, if you really felt confident, but I would have to agree with you guys. Look at this though. What's interesting as well is I'm really surprised that the 3 horses 5-1 on the EE morning line. Like, look at the 3 is that's crazy. Like, and the 5 horses 4-5, 45%. Top EquinEdge pick. There's 3 different metrics that are saying that this 5 should win easily.
Yeah, and I think that that's the horse to play against, because if that horse goes off at 4-5, and we think that that horse needs the lead and could be vulnerable, that's how you make money.
Yeah. Super
So
interesting race between those 3. It's neat when you handicap. You can't wait to watch and see. Okay, I feel like I figured this race out, but this or this or this could happen, and let's just see what will happen. And that it's races like this that I love to learn from, right, and find an angle. Like if I could only find an angle here, and in this race, and key one horse, that would be fantastic. But anyways, all right, let's go on to the next race. 250,000 Unreachable Star Handicap. These are for 3-year-olds, and these are state bred horses. So I'm going to get rid of this 45-1. That's not part of the pace. I'm going to get rid of this 7 horse here. Let me know if I'm getting rid of somebody I shouldn't be, and that we should be able to get a clear vision of this race. They're going 1.70 miles. So again, you got to look at the starting point, which kills these outside horses. Now I realize the 11's fast, but let's see what happens. So 11 is fast, really fast.
Yep,
you can
really fast.
Yeah.
In fact, so to me, the 11 was my long shot play for the day here, and I thought the 11 at 15-1 has a shot here to win, and
Well,
was on top for me.
Let's look at it a little bit closer. So it's very fast. We know that. And it's going on the dirt, but it's okay. So we would have to look at the race before that. It had a 4-length lead at 13%, same distance surface. These are tougher, and it had an easy lead and literally stopped, just like the race simulator is saying. So what makes it different this time around?
All right. So on this horse, let me get to Tremor here. So, it's moving back to dirt, which I think, I think this could be a dirt horse, even though it has stopped. I think it's faced other pace pressure in the past. 52, 54, it does seem a little cut below in terms of speed, but if you go through the rest of these horses, other than Who's Your Daddy, who really is a 52 horse here?
Okay, that would be the only angle. That's true. Like you would have to look. Clearly, this horse is. The 1 horse, the EquinEdge long shot's been facing better horses as well. The 4 horse has been facing better horses. 5 horse had a race here 4 back, and then this wasn't a terrible race against a 58 group, but didn't like the turf. There might be some forgiving here with the 5 horse possibly. We'll have to look at that. But for me, I don't like the 11 at all. I think the 11 is going to get the lead. We'll have to be asked early. A lot of times when you have these horses that need the lead and they have a bad post, you have to ask them pretty good to get them going, and then they have a hard time relaxing after that because the jockey's asking for the bell, and they take off and they're headstrong from the very beginning to get that clear lead. I think this horse stops. And I think it now becomes an interesting race because you have to really be on your game to see who that's going to benefit.
Well, and I think the 4, I think both the 3 and the 4 have a shot there. But I think if the 11 stops, the 3 is the horse that is sitting right there to clean it up,
Let's
so to
see.
speak.
Yeah,
And where the
the
4
three's
needs
tactical,
something.
saving ground on the inside.
Yep.
It was only 19% to win the time before that. So let's look at the races where it had decent win percentages. It was 17% and 19%. Here at Indiana, same. Pedroza was aboard here. It was 8-1 here. It wasn't really bet and it didn't run all that great. And then here it faced 5 other horses and barely lost and was blocked.
Yep.
So it might have even been the best horse. Saves ground here. Faced better here. I think there's some legitimate excuses here, and the horse likes to win and going to save ground is 9-5 on the E morning line. I would agree. I think this 3 horse looks very solid in this race.
Yeah, and the 4 I think needs pace to run into. So unless the 3 and the 2 get caught up in and I don't think much of the 2. I think the 2 is very cheap. But unless that they get caught up with the 11 in a pace duel, where's the pace that the 4 needs going to come from?
Yeah. It's no. The 3 horse can either take it or leave it. It doesn't necessarily have to have that pace. It's tactical. I would choose the 3 horse over the 4 horse. First of all, it's 9-5 on the E morning line. The system, the E morning line knows that this 4 horse is going to get some action. But the true money is most likely going to be on this 3 horse. This 3 horse is definitely the horse to beat. I'm all this will be another single for me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
And you,
So
and you and Justin.
Justin was 3-4-1 there. So he was the Who's Your Daddy, and then the rest of it, the top pick, then the long shot there.
And you were.
I was 11-3-4.
Oh, I thought you wanted the 11 for third. You're actually putting the 11 on top.
I'm taking the shot, so to speak. You can't call your shot and then say you're going to finish third.
No, I thought you said this was your long shot. You liked it for third.
It was no. I said it's my
Oh
long
no,
shot.
I think that I challenged you, and then you came and puffed up your chest, and then I know how you are. Okay, now chuck them out. No way this 11 wins this race. I've got we do some sort of gentleman's wager, Oldy. We have to, like old days, like old times. Come on,
for sure.
Okay,
let's people in the chat come up with something that we can do.
No, listen. I'm a fair guy. I'll give you 4 lengths. The 3 beats the 11 by more than 4 lengths, straight up.
All right, 4 lengths. I'll take 4 lengths.
All right, sounds good.
Which is about what the race sim is giving you there. So,
okay. Let's see what. Yeah, I look at that. I just kind of winged that. All right. Listen, I'll give you what the simulator's giving you. I'll even give you better. I'll give you 5 lengths. How's that?
All right, but I expect to see you in the chat during this race on Saturday in the stretch run.
Okay.
To rub it into me if I lose, or so I can rub it into you if I win.
Okay. Deal. All right. So you're on the 11 horse. I'm always rooting for you, though. You know that. All right. So
all right.
We got are we doing this race?
No, we're going to Keeneland race 6.
All right. Keeneland race 6. I remember when I first started doing my shows in the beginning, I don't know, God, 4 or 5 years ago, and you'd be in there and I'd be like, the chat room is going crazy. And I'm like, I love this horse and like this. And all of a sudden there's this message pops up on the chat. Yes. I don't like this horse. I'm like, who's this Oldy? Who's this Oldy guy?
Yeah. And I think people thought that you would be annoyed at me and stuff like that, but I always thought it made for a good show.
It did. No, I love it. I love it. I don't take things personally like that. And I know you don't.
Not at all. I think people are entitled to their opinions, and I know I can be wrong, and I know I can be headstrong as well. So that's part of the fun, is arguing and disagreeing over horses.
It sure is. So, listen, I think I would have to guess, but I'm pretty sure that you've been in these situations where we've put a challenge up. You beat me more than I've beat you. So
You've had a decent last couple times, though, I
yeah,
think.
I have the last couple of times. So
Yep.
we might be even, but you might still be a little bit ahead of me. All right. We've got the Bowman Stakes here. This is the Bowman Mill Stakes, $200,000. These are 2-year-olds. Oldie, I love these baby races. Absolutely love
Yes.
this baby race. You know, I just, there's fantastic. We have a speed horse here. You can see I did handicap this race, but let's run it. And the front runner is the 4-horse, who this is going to be my top pick. I think this horse holds all the cards in this race. These are tougher than the last, but solid breeding. The mother is fantastic, and I think they're going to have a hard time beating Macho Music, even though the EE Morning Line doesn't love the horse.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, actually. Believe it or not, we're on the same horse here. So
Okay.
I thought Macho Music was going to get the lead here. I think a bunch of these others need the lead, and therefore, may not be able to press in this situation. Look, the White Sands wasn't able to press when it didn't get the lead in the Best Pal.
Yeah.
This is about as good of a group as that was as well. So I think if Macho Music gets to the lead, I think the horse will get to. And, this horse already has a win over the Keeneland grounds as well. And I like that about it. Then I think it's going to be really tough to catch. And I don't mean the one horse tough catch either.
No.
But, Justin and I actually agreed here in terms of the horses to use. We just had them in a different order.
Okay.
So he has the 6-horse on top, Long Neck Paula, the long shot, the other ward, if you will.
Yep.
There. But again, I'm not sure this horse doesn't need the lead too. But I actually saw that race at Prairie Meadows. We were playing a little something there, and I think you also have to notice that the 6-horse is getting his top call jockey in Johnny V.
Yeah.
Where White Sands is getting Joe Bravo, who he doesn't use very often.
Right.
And that to me is he's used Joe Bravo 2 times in the last year. That tells me that the ward horse to watch there is Long Neck Paula and not White Sands.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, for 3-2 on the EE Morning Line, like there's a reason why this horse is 3-2. I'm kind of surprised it's 8-1 on the odds makers Morning Line. It's the EquinEdge long shot. Yeah. I mean, how many times have we seen when you have the EquinEdge long shot also be the lowest of the EE Morning Lines, they win an awfully high percentage of the time.
And then Justin and I both liked underneath the 3-horse for Brad Cox.
Yeah.
I think this horse probably has a little more speed. It broke slow. So I don't think it'll be that far back. But if the 4 isn't fast enough to clear and all these speed horses get in a battle, this is the horse that's going to benefit. You can see it closing on the race sim to the stretch there.
No doubt about it, but I'm just going to remind you that, well, okay, we don't know how fast this horse is, but let me, first of all, the connections are fantastic. But okay, and this horse broke dead last from the 2-hole against 11 other horses last time out and won. So we don't know how fast this horse is, but a lot of horses like this get overbet because people are like, wow, if the horse breaks good, it's going to really, we don't know how fast the pace was early. It might have stopped and gave this horse a chance to catch up. No matter what, on paper, it looks really impressive, but a lot of these horses don't come back to run as well. So I really don't know what to expect from this, but this horse could be a monster for all we know. Let's look at the dam. The dam in 11 tries won $107,000. I mean, she was okay. She was that kind of average. Whereas when you look at like Macho Music and Southern Girl, the dam here won $121,000 in 7 tries. And then how about Long Neck Paula? You can see here, I mean, this horse won $451,000 in 14 races. The other thing about this, I will tell you this, most people would agree that no breeding, that the Uncle Mo's take a while to develop. And the fact that this horse won first time out and is doing well, there's a high likelihood this horse is probably pretty good and maybe has some upside. So I wouldn't be ignoring the 6-horse by any stretch of the imagination.
All right.
All right.
And I think is there any horse we didn't mention that you like that Justin and I didn't like there? Because we're both
No.
on.
Well, I mean, I think the 5 horse we have to mention. I did put a note on the 5, and that it's a jockey upgrade in Jose Ortiz, and throw out the last race, which means something. Throw that out there, and what has the horse really done wrong? So if you, and maybe the horse didn't like going 8 furlongs as well. So I will tell you this: very difficult to you're going in your first graded race, and you're stretching out at the same time, and you draw the 11 hole. You're only 9% to win. Throw that race out completely. And this horse on, if you don't have that last race and you're just looking at this horse is the first 3 races, you're looking going, this is a major contender, and this horse is the EquinEdge second pick. So maybe we got to be really careful. And you might even get a price on this 5 horse. So,
Yeah.
you know, I would
Yeah,
say
and
for me, 465.
all right, 465. Okay, and I am 463. Justin is 643.
Okay.
But we got some double play numbers there as well for you baseball fans out there. 463, which is second to shortstop to first base. And now we're on Keeneland race 8. And it looks like you and I are a little similar here. Just looking at who you.
I could not separate these 4 horses at all. So I did struggle. I narrowed it down to these 4 horses, but that's the best I could do. So maybe you can help me with this.
All right. So out of those 4, I tossed the 6 Rattle and Roll there because there's no pace for this horse to run into.
Let's
And
look and see how far back this horse is initially. So we go to the first call. The 6 is 5 lengths back. You're absolutely right. I missed that. And then even at the stretch is 3 1/4 lengths back. You're right.
Yeah.
That's very difficult at Keeneland to make up that. So and then look at the 6 as well. I do have a note, has burned a lot of money. All right.
Yep.
So okay, so good one. That helps me. So now instead of using I'm going to put exotics. And there's a high likelihood this horse could get up for 3rd. In fact, this actually might be the type of horse that you actually key in the 3rd spot. So has burned a lot of money, no speed, exotics. All right. So let's, so we narrowed down to here. All right. What else?
Well, for me here, on top, I like the 2 Tumbarumba.
Okay.
Which Chris would tell me that I'm tub thumping there, but for those of you who know the song Tumbarumba, but I just think that this horse easy lead. This horse does really like second though, and maybe you key this horse in second if you believe that Hit Show can get there in time, because this horse does, like I said, really like to finish second, 4 seconds in a row. I do think the added distance is going to help. I think this horse wants 2 turns and not 1, and they've been running a lot of 1-turn miles with this horse, and I think that this horse will carry that speed better.
Yeah.
Going 2 turns than 1. And so that and it's second off the layoff here for Brian Lynch, and has a good workout pattern. So for me, I was 284 in that order. I think Hit Show's the class of this field. I just don't know if Hit Show can get to Tumbarumba unless Tumbarumba stops.
Okay. And what about War Campaign? Because I think War Campaign can't be ignored at all.
Well, it depends how you define a money burner. If you define a money burner as it has to be the favorite, then War Campaign isn't a money burner. But if you look, War Campaign second, 6th, 4th, second, similar to Tumbarumba, but isn't going to be in as good of a tactical position in the race. And I think gets run down first by Hit Show before it gets to Tumbarumba. But I could be wrong, and you could play this as a try. You could play an 8-2-4-6 try. So 8 over 2-4, since both those horses like to finish second, and then the
Yeah.
sixth and third.
All right. So you're on I'm guessing you're on the 2-8.
I'm 284 in that order, and Justin did not have anything for this race.
Okay. 284. You really helped me in this race, actually. I would probably be on the 8-2.
All right, let's see what you think of my pick in the next race.
Okay, so we have race number 9, grade 3. The 6 horse broke 10th in the last race. Still won. Really been brilliantly, no pun intended, managed as well by Sherry DeVoe. I mean, that was pretty impressive. You have another horse in here, Hershey, who was in that race and got second. It looks like a wide open race. I didn't fully handicap this race, but let me run this thing.
Yeah, and I have a very defined opinion here.
Okay, shoot, go for it. What do you got?
The one horse Neat is winning this race.
Really?
I think that the horse did not like Kentucky Downs, had won 2 in a row at 8 furlongs at Aqueduct and Saratoga.
Okay.
Has, beaten similar to this, and this is a horse that I've been watching for a while, and was really against the bias and still almost got there at Kentucky Downs. So I think this horse has a lot of room to grow for Rob Atras. It's working really well. Has a good post, has some tactical speed, and is, for me, my top pick at 8-1. And not only did I like a price on top, or as my top pick, I like the price as my second pick.
Okay.
And that would be My Boy Prince coming in from Woodbine for Mark Casse and getting Jose Ortiz. Let's throw out those last 2 races and look at this horse's form. It does have some wins over the grass. It has a big GSR. This horse, until that grade 1 Woodbine Mile, which it's getting some class relief in terms of grade of the race. And this horse is very tactical and may be the speed of this race.
Yeah, really nice. Dan, to answer your question, I just finished taping about an hour and a half ago the Santa Anita show. It's on Chappie's show. I think you can get it online, and gave all the things I liked about the pick 6 for tomorrow. So a double carryover in the pick 6. So go check that out. Go to santanita.com, I believe, and you can see Gino, Skip, and me and Chappie talking about the double carryover pick 6 tomorrow. All right. So Gary Barber, I'm always watching Gary Barber because he just seems to win. I don't know, the trainers train better for him or what, but he just seems to win. I agree with you. My Boy Prince is a good one. I'm going to have to look at this a little bit closer for sure. $600,000 Bryan Station Stakes. I mean, it's a great purse for a grade 3. And the race came up fairly tough as well. So look at the EE morning line. Brilliant Birdie's going to get bet, but it's not that I love the horse. I thought it was one of the horses. Hershey is another one that I think is one of the ones. I think this race is absolutely wide open. There's nothing wrong with Tricari. Tricari could run good here too, Oldy.
Yeah, no, Tricari was my third horse here. And Tricari is the favorite on the morning line at 2-1.
Yeah.
And, the outside post on going a mile here is not that bad because you do have a significant run up there.
You know what you have to remember here, you guys, is that these algorithms are all separate. So you're looking at the EE morning line, and the lowest is 3-1, but then it jumps to 6-1. The other thing is the top win percentage is only 15%. And then when you look at the race simulator, is almost a vertical line, aside from the 2 horses I eliminated, the 10 and the 12. That's insane. Like, you just don't see that. This race is absolutely a grab bag. It's going to be one of the funnest races to watch for sure on Saturday.
And I want to point out, Chuck, is your only Grade 1 winner in this race,
Who
which
is?
is why the Tricari,
Chikari is,
the
yeah.
11,
Yeah.
which is
And
why
a
the
grade
morning.
and a grade 2. It's one a grade 2, but this one did as well. Yeah, you're making a really good point on Neat. I'm really glad that we talked about this race. You're right, and my boy Prince, you're right. I mean, we could look at every one of these horses. How about this undefeated horse here for Contreras?
The 5, yeah,
Yeah,
for Sippy.
Demolisher. Yeah,
And I mean, it's just class, and it hasn't shown that same level of class yet on the turf, but has run well on the turf. It's just been against state-bred Indiana horses.
you know what I
So
like to do,
we'll
Oldy? I love to go to the dam, especially on turf races. And when I look at Tricari and I look at the dam earned 219,000 in 8 tries on the turf. So Tricari has got that turf breeding on the bottom side. I love that. Here, when you look at Hershey, there's really, like, it's average at best. I mean, the dam was really not that great. That doesn't always tell the story, but this horse has run good, but it could get a lot tougher here. And you're looking at Brilliant Birdie, and the dam was fantastic. 12 tries earned $400,000. And then let's take a look at Neat. Orabella.
unraced dam.
Yeah, unraced dam. Unraced dam. And then my boy Prince
Pretty good.
only raced 4 times, but pretty good. Right.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, it's I mean, amazing breeding by my boy Prince. And this horse has been in the money in 10 of 12 races. And you know what I like to do too, Oldie? I like to look at the races where the horse ran poor and why. I think we can just look at the difficulty of the race being that 78 SOR in that 1-turn mile last time out. Gets a little bit easier here. Win percentage drops a little bit. I mean, didn't run a terrible race, lost by 4.5 lengths, but I think you're right. I think and it's also a price play that's super interesting. You know how I use price plays, Oldie? I'll use them as just like an extra bonus. Like if I like a horse and it's also a price play,
Yep.
They do pretty good that way.
Agreed. I feel the same way about the price plays. If I don't like them, I don't use them. And, it's just another algorithm that's recognizing, well, maybe this horse shouldn't be 15 to 1.
Yeah.
The win percentage is saying that too at 11%. And we've seen how many times, like on Derby Day, where there was that second pick that was 28 to 1.
Yeah.
Too, where an algorithm identifies something that shouldn't be at such a big price, and you're able to, if you pay attention and you take advantage, you give yourself an advantage over other players.
So Bluegrass Dan is making a point about this horse, and I can see it. Like, first of all, I think it's amazing that Mike Maker grabs this horse first time in North America, and this horse goes to Kentucky Downs sprinting and didn't break very well. Of course, those European horses usually won't. And look, it only loses by 2 1/4 lengths. I think that's pretty poignant. And not only that, coming from behind, where a lot of horses didn't really come from behind. And now stretching out, the GSR goes up 6 points. What did you even consider this horse or look at it?
I looked at it. Here's what I'll say. Under normal circumstances, I might consider this horse more. But Maker's horses in Kentucky, if they're not the favorite, are not winning. He's something like I saw this a couple days ago. Non-favorite Makers were something like 0 for 56. So I'll let him get hot on somebody else's dime first before I take 6 to 1 or 8 to 1 on a Maker horse here. And they're fine elsewhere. He's doing really well, I think, in New York. It's just in Kentucky. His Kentucky group right now is not hot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it looks like first of all, I don't think I've ever seen a grade. I will say this, Dan. I don't think I've ever seen a grade 1 race that the field was an average of 70. I will say that. So for that reason is why I wouldn't use the 9. That's a it was a really easy grade 1 race. Have you ever seen a grade 1 race that was a 70 rated?
I think I've seen one or two, but it doesn't happen very often.
No, super weak race. Okay, let's go. Where are we going next?
All right, well, let me tease something real fast for the stretch
Okay.
run then.
Okay.
So my best to get my best bet of the day at Keeneland, because it's in the last race at Keeneland of the meet, which is not one of the races we're covering. You'll have to tune into the stretch run. And, it's actually something Justin and I both saw and liked when we were doing a little handicapping together on Tuesday night. So
can you give
that's
us a
my
little
little
bit
tease.
more? Can you give us a little bit more about the horse? Like, does it have a really good GSR? Does it is it going up in GSR? Does it what can
It
you tell
is
us?
going up in GSR. It
Okay.
does have something. It does have something else mysterious you'll find
Okay.
if you look at the past performances, and it has a very horse racing name.
Okay.
So that those
Okay.
are my teasers, and you'll have to tune in on Saturday to find out who that horse is. And
I like
you
it.
know, the, I just think it may be a cut above the group of high-level maiden claimers. So that will be
Okay.
my tease for the day.
Perfect. Perfect. I telling you, I actually like the one horse neat as well. I'm going with you on that. I'm going with you on that. I really agree with you. I think Tricari might run a good race, very consistent. What's thrown me off a little bit is that it was in pretty good position last time out and then just kind of didn't finish on there. And so that, I would have liked to see that horse finish on from that. So for that reason, I probably would go away from that horse. And yeah, I like the one neat. I think you've got one there. And I will say this too, look at you. If you use all these horses, you could get the favorite to win, which would be terrible, right? So it's just in a race like this that's so difficult. You have to. How do you approach a race like this? Oldy, would you ever single in a race like this?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to make a decision, and you can. If you're right, you get a big advantage because everybody else is using six horses in this race, and you're using one, and you can spread that elsewhere within your ticket.
Yeah, agreed. I think you've been hot of late. People are talking about it, so I'm going to follow you. So
I did it. I did hit a dollar pick four that I put in while we were waiting for you for the at Remington. That paid, so it paid $700 and something
wow,
over
you've just been
City
on fire. You almost got that pick six today over at Belmont, but that 2-horse won, and I think the pick six paid over 20 grand, right?
Yep. Pick six paid, I think paid 27. So we're going to Santa Anita next.
We're going to Santa Anita. All right, Santa Anita. Yeah, I covered some of these races.
So I'm interested.
We're on Saturday, so we're going to go to the 7th race. So I have some notes here, actually. No, I don't have notes. We covered the pick six tomorrow. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Okay. My bad. I did not cover this. Okay. Let me run the race. Hey, what's up, Bill? Okay.
And my top pick here is what I'm trying to do tomorrow and Saturday and all the way through the Breeders' Cup, which is the 4-horse Stay Hot.
Okay. Fair enough. Top GSR by far.
Top GSR.
7-2 morning line. Did Justin have any, by the way, did Justin have any picks in that race number 9?
He did not, no.
Okay.
I believe we're through. He doesn't have anything more here. So
okay. And what so this horse has been pretty consistent. It didn't that was a grade 2 race last time out. It was a 66 group. That was not the strongest grade 2. But facing similar this time out, coming back at the same surface and distance. The horse didn't really seem to have any trouble. Nothing. It's very consistent. Likely that this horse is going to run a decent race for sure.
Yeah. So, top, it's top Scotty pick. You know, is in the right spot in terms of, you know, his beaten 62s, and this is a 64, and, you know, ran really well at 9 furlongs in that grade 2. So Stay Hot is my top pick there, and then the speed horse with the GSR drop, Curlin's Chaos, is my second pick. I think that this horse probably gets caught. It did beat a group of 68s on the dirt, though, and does have a win at a mile on the turf as well, and is tactical and can rate a little bit, so doesn't need the lead. So you don't lose if this horse doesn't get the lead here. But I just think that this horse has enough of a pace advantage that it could carry that. And obviously they thought high enough of this horse that it ran in the Santa Anita Derby as well. So this is a horse that they probably have that they probably think very highly of. And then I like the 7 horse Twirling Point as well. Again, another one stretching out, gets a little bit of GSR here, has some tactical speed, which I think you have to have at Santa Anita. So those were my top 3 there. What about you? What did you think here?
4. I mean, clearly would be my type of play. The 6 horse is not. I'm not a fan of this horse at all. It's burned too much money for my liking. It's not somebody that I would play. It is 6 to 5. It's going to get bet. I think it's going to get over bet. I think Stay Hot's going to be the horse to beat, and I don't think the horse has to be really that far back. Look, it's 2.5 lengths back at the second call, only less than 2 lengths, and then finishes. When a lot of these contenders like the 6, who looks vulnerable, and then the 7 being wide, and then so if you take those out, then the 4 horse wins pretty nicely. I know the 2 horse, I'm not really a fan of the 2 horse here as well on the turf. I prefer this horse on the dirt, and so for those reasons, why if I was to do that and I get rid of those horses, now all of a sudden you see the 6 horse pretty good. I think this Cathal looks pretty good. I think this horse can improve. It's lightly raced for John Sadler. For me, I'll do 4 or 5.
Okay. I will say the 1 has a little bit of a look too, and ran pretty well in the Del Mar Derby as well. Not sure it wants the extra furlong, but you know, and I would toss the 3 Winsock with the big GSR drop for Baffert. I don't typically like Baffert.
Huge GSR drop. I wouldn't even use this horse. You know, I'll say about the 1, and you and I talked about this before the show, and that is when these horses are right there at the stretch and then they stop and they slow up. And so I think you're going to see another effort like that. And you got the EE Morning Line at 8 to 1. I mean, all this horse did, honestly, it's not that it's a bad horse. It's 2 third-place finishes in stakes races, and one of them a grade 2. But I mean, it beat a 50 group, and you know what I mean. So I think this horse is up against it for the win on the 1. Okay, where are we going now?
All right, we have a couple races left at Aqueduct on the 27th, and then a wrapping up with a 2-year-old stakes race at Churchill for opening day.
So where are we going over at Belmont on Sunday?
Belmont. We are going to race 3.
Are we covering all those stakes races at Belmont?
No, we're just going to do 3, 4, and 9.
3, 4, and 9. Okay, gotcha. Okay, don't fail me now, internet. Okay.
If it's not coming up, you can pull up my screen too.
Let's see here. Oh, I got it. So we're talking about the 27th, right? Oops.
Yep.
All right, hold on here. All right, we might need to pull up yours. Looks like the
mouse in the wheel needs to be changed out. That makes the internet run.
It's weird. It goes good, and then it does that. Who knows? But all right, lead the way.
All right, since we have so few horses, I'm going to blow this up a little bigger. Just all right. So this was only a 6-horse race. Um, I think that this race it goes through the 2 sacrosanct for Brad Cox. This horse may be a monster. Won first time out by 3, then second time out on the lead, won by 12, and is moving up again here. The morning line has it at 3-2. It's the top win percentage and second Scotty pick. And in the data I was tracking when the pick switched over, that was a very strong angle, was when you were top pace and the second pick and the actually it's second win percentage, but still I preferred it over Moplex for Jeremiah Engelhart, even though he is getting IRAD there. I just thought typically Engelhart horses, it barely beat a group of 72s,
Yeah.
didn't run all that well in the Champagne, and is coming back pretty quickly from that Champagne effort, which I'm guessing took something out of that horse.
That is,
And
you're right though. That is quick. Like, this is a nice horse. You would think you would be a little bit more patient with this horse, honestly.
yeah, and it's a
It was an open
2-year-old.
company, right?
Yep. And
I mean,
so
the fact that this horse Moplex is getting state breds again, which is great. But I agree with you. I mean that this horse had won by 12 lengths last time out. Albeit a state bred race. This horse is going to be very, very tough, gate to wire. Absolutely, I agree with you.
and that is my top pick on the Sunday's Aqueduct card, is that 2-horse.
Okay. Yep. We're in agreement there. I think it's 2-1.
Right. Yeah, it's 2-1, and then I like the 3 underneath, Pay the Juice.
Okay.
For Shug, but again underneath. So, and then on to race 4,
Okay.
which has one more horse here. Let's run the race sim and take a look at that. And the 3 gets the lead. And stretches out here. A third call. And the 3 was also my top pick here. And I was 3, 4, 7. But I think 3 to 5 on the morning line, that's telling you something. Top pace. There is other speed here. I think another cliche needs to go for the lead as well for Gary Contessa. And if we hear from Team Contessa that they think this horse is live, that might be something to pay attention to. But this is a speed horse that breaks slow.
Yeah.
And that's going to give With the Angels a big advantage, because With the Angels is a speed horse for Linda Rice that breaks fast.
Yeah.
Broken first each time. So that's a big advantage there. And that I thought Carmen's Candy Jar for Pletcher might be, might enjoy the extra distance here. It's a Vino Rosso and could sit a trip here. Hasn't so far, but I think may enjoy that extra distance. And then Boston's Finest for Chad Brown was a last stop maiden winner. We know they don't come back and win that often, but he thinks enough of it to put it in a state bred stakes now, and it does have Pratt riding. And that's also your second pick. But I probably won't use more than the 3 here. And I'd be looking at the price on the double here between the 2 and the 3. And that might be a double to hammer if you're getting 5, 6 to 1 here as well.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. 2, 3 double. That's a good call. There's a high likelihood that that's going to happen.
Yeah. And you could also play 2 singles there in the pick 5, but you might make it gives you an opportunity to make some money in between that pick five in case you miss in one of those legs and still cover. I use a lot of times use doubles either to get myself to profit when I see situations like this, even if my pick fives or pick fours aren't hitting for that day.
Hmm. Okay, well,
Eh,
we're in agreement. I like the 3.
All right, the 3, and then we're Belmont race 9 or Aqueduct race 9.
Okay.
And so that this race has your buddy, Spirit of St. Louis, who you tried to argue with me a couple weeks ago. So this was the last one we had where you were convinced that Spirit of St. Louis, who was a state bred, was going to beat my other Chad Brown. Oh, Chris isn't there to give me the name, but it's the he's running. He's going to be the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Mile, most likely,
Yeah.
or at least the American favorite for Chad Brown there. Um, I'm trying to blank. It's a Caddyshack name, but
So
Spirit of
I liked this horse, Spirit of St. Louis.
you like Spirit of St. Louis over
Yeah.
that horse, who is now most likely going to be the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Mile, which we all know is the turf mile there. And this horse is going back to state bred
Yeah.
here. So I wanted to make sure. I told Chris I wanted this on the list. I think Spirit of St. Louis wins this race, uh, but I think this is a better state bred group than it's faced. And I think the horse to watch that could beat Spirit of St. Louis here is City Man for Christophe Clement. And that they faced each other a couple times, and Spirit of St. Louis has gotten the better of City Man. But maybe today is the day with the other pace here that there's 4 horses, including Spirit of St. Louis, with pace numbers over 70. So with that pace there, maybe said this is the day that Carl Spackler, thank you, Bluegrass Stan, but said this might be the day that City Man turns the tide and pulls an upset on Spirit of St. Louis.
From that post.
From that post, yes. Again, going to have a lot of pace potentially to run into. We'll watch the race. I gotta pull that up.
The problem for me with this horse, like it's right there so many times and it just doesn't get there. But look, I mean, it ran a decent race here, got a second place finish against a 78 group. So it's certainly capable. But I think at the price, I mean, it's 7 years old now, but I think at the price, it's certainly, 15 to 1 EE morning line. If the one, for whatever reason, falters, I think there's many of these that could actually run a decent race.
I just think they've been battling enough over the years and I've watched enough Spirit of St. Louis races that maybe the horse gets caught up in the pace and that this is just the time for City Man. That being said, I don't trust Joel Rosario any further than I can throw him from the 9 post here, or further than IRAD can throw him. Might be a better way to say that, but I do think that this is the second best horse in here and may have the pace set up to win here.
Yeah. Well, the contenders in this race, for what it's worth, if the one falters, are the 6, 8, 9, and 10.
Yes. And the 8 was my
contenders.
third horse on the list for Brad Cox. Did beat a state bred group last time out here against 72. So absolutely, I just think that, that horse isn't bred as well as Spirit of St. Louis or City Man. And, maybe the breeding pushes those 2 over the edge. And I think Dakota Gold has a little bit of a look here as well. Has beaten 76s at this distance against state bred. So I think that is another horse that could finish in the money and could be running late. And you might want to look at a 1-9 and then a 1-9, 1-9-2, 6-8-2 try. And the race sim does show the 2 coming on at the end. So
It
that's
does,
why
but
I'm,
the thing is that horse is going to be near the lead. I don't see it.
right,
Yeah.
I agree with you, but I did notice that. And maybe the 2 should be in third because the 2 does seem to like running third.
There's a lot of speed in this race. The connections don't win. I don't see it. I'm throwing the 2 out.
All
But
right.
I think the one just absolutely the horse to beat. But I think you're onto something with the 9 horse Oldy. I think the 9 might run a good race in here. Rosario's aboard. Jerry the Nipper, the 10 horse. I don't love the post at all, but this 10 is tactical. This 10 might run a decent race, but it never seems to get there. And when it was 80 cents on the dollar, it burns some money. So probably from that post, not likely, but it does have IRAT aboard. So yeah. You know what? The more we handicap these races, the more I'm really liking the EquinEdge picks for over the weekend. Like it just seems like everything we liked was the EquinEdge picks. It's interesting.
Agreed. Absolutely. And that's the way it's supposed to work, right?
Yeah, I mean, but it doesn't usually work that way. You know, we're usually finding other things. So, like it's just something to think about. But trusting the system sometimes, or trusting the picks, is not an easy thing to do for us competitive handicappers. But maybe going to follow the EquinEdge picks a little bit more this weekend.
All right. So.
All right, where to?
Sure. We're Churchill race 10.
Churchill race number 10.
Yep.
Grade 3 race
for 2-year-olds.
Okay.
And they're off. And there's a line of them after the second call here. The 7 is
noticed
coming
that
on.
The 1 horse Big Much is 5-2 on the EE morning line.
Yep. Oh, I definitely noticed that. That's what I call a Justin play right there too.
Yeah.
All right. So you see the 7, it goes 7, 5, 10.
Yeah.
Which is the reverse of the E picks there. So, but as we're talking, that the E picks look pretty good. Here's one where my top pick was Big Much, because I did notice that as well. And so I'm going to play against the picks. I like the works for Norm Cassie here. I'm going to shrink this so people can see my screen better now that we're into some bigger fields. I like the works here on this 1 horse Big Much, who can rate a little bit. Was a winner first time out, is stretching out here. So Big Much for me was the top of the platform, so to speak. And then I like the 5 Tis Tastic. So I agree. This is the second pick. Coming back from dirt, still an 83. These Tis the Laws have been running very, very well as a first time sire as well. And, I think this horse from a tactical standpoint, hasn't shown that much speed, but there's a lot of speed, a lot of similarly paced horses in this race. And I know this horse can finish. And that's what I'm expecting to see on the dirt. Second time out, they thought enough of this horse to run it at Saratoga first time out. And then for me, the other choice here is the 3 Baby Boat, who also has an morning line angle. And hear me out on this, because we saw this last week or when we were at Keeneland. And these horses that ship in from Hawthorne, that these trainers aren't shipping them in to lose by 20 lengths. And James DeVito is putting Corrales aboard here. This horse has already beaten 70s. The question is the distance, but it does get 4 points in GSR here. So this is the one time I'm going mostly against the Scotty picks.
All right. So I noticed that Bracket Buster seems to be working really good. The 2 horse, did you consider that horse at all?
I did, and I did see that 4-star work. We can watch that if we want, but For me though, the Victoria Oliver horses have not been running well. It is a Vekoma, so and Vekomas have been winning races like these. So I think that's another price you got to look out for here. But that one was right below for me here, and if it gets the lead, I think it could go. It's just a matter. Big Much is similarly paced, and I did not like the fact that the Scotty first pick here was a maiden for Belmont as
No,
well, and one
well,
that
no, and that post, the post
yep.
is no bueno. I'm really surprised that. I mean, he obviously likes this horse. Bill does, to put this horse in this race, but that is just not a good post. But there's nothing that great in here, to be honest with you. I don't know. It's interesting, but I'm looking right now at Dapper Moon a little bit. I think that's an interesting horse because if you throw out the Breeders' Futurity Grade 1 over at Keeneland, that horse got a 4th place finish against 10 other horses. So I think the EquinEdge long shot has a good look.
I did not like this horse, and let me tell you why. I don't think it wants 2 turns. And the reason I'm saying that is I look at that Breeders' Futurity, and you look, it was essentially in the same position as it was at Saratoga when it broke its maiden, and it went backwards. And to me, that's a horse that probably was going 2 turns and didn't want to go 2 turns.
But don't forget, it's going up 22 points in SOR. It was facing winners for the first time, right? It's a Grade 1 race. And the fact that Dallas Stewart, who's, he doesn't usually put horses over its head. I mean, he obviously liked this horse. His horse broke its maiden easily, so he took a shot. And now the horse but he still likes the horse. The horse is training good. And now it's facing much easier and also draws a better post. So I think for those reasons, I think the 7-horse Dapper Moon is a big player, considering especially that the favorite is going to be on the outside and is a maiden, and the 5-horse looks okay, but it's been racing. I think it has a lot to prove still on the dirt. And so, and then, the 1-horse just broke its maiden barely, and it's 5-2. So it's going to get bet. So by the way, your baby boat, I thought this horse is for the exotics as well. I like that, but I'm going with Dapper Moon. I think this horse is going to run a really good race.
All right. I'm going to play it. That's an E long shot I will not use. And it's the distance, but it's only getting 4 points of SOR relief as well. And, that 4 points of SOR relief, does that equate to almost 11 lengths? To me, it doesn't. So
well, don't forget, it's not just that too. The win percentage was lower in that race. The post was brutal. That's not a good post at all on the dirt over at Keeneland. So first time also as well, lightly raced horse, first time against winners, let alone a Grade 1 field. So when you take all those factors, I'm not sure you just look at the SOR.
All right, let me ask one other question about this horse, and then we can wrap this up. But this horse likes to be running a length and a half behind in second or third. I don't think this horse can get to second or third with the other pace in this field.
Nothing to me is showing. I think this horse is just naturally fast. Nothing here that I'm seeing in the past performances shows this horse couldn't be 7 lengths back and finish. From what I'm seeing, it's lightly raced. I think it's pretty impressive if you look at what this horse did, going to Keeneland and going in a Grade 1 race after breaking its maiden impressively. I think there's fair, legitimate excuses for that effort that wasn't exactly horrible. So if I were you, I wouldn't. I understand that it's not your favorite, but I don't know that I would leave this horse out, Oldy. Honestly, I think this horse. This is not a great field, and there's some. You know what I mean? It's just not. And the 7 is. I hope I get 7-1 on this horse.
All right.
Is that it?
Yep, that is it.
That is it. All right. Well, great stuff. Good show. Chris, you want to come in before we wrap this up?
Absolutely.
All right. Any
you've
thoughts?
Got the Road VHG tomorrow at 11:30 with you and David Harrison.
Yep.
We will be on right before 1 o'clock on Saturday, covering all of Keeneland and a lot of these other great stakes races at Horseshoe and at Belmont and Aqueduct. Plus sprinkling in some things where we get there. Got some good stuff for you. So good show, guys. Good picks, and we will see you all over the weekend and the Breeders' Cup next week.
Yeah. Fantastic job. Big shout out to Justin as well. And thank you all for your support and for tuning in and listening. Have a wonderful night. Stay safe. And then hopefully we'll see you on the road to the NHC tomorrow morning. Thanks a lot.